Hey everyone, welcome back to the Mindful Psychonaut podcast. So, I haven't done podcast in a while. The last podcast I did was, I think it was called Preparation for Psychedelics or something along that line. And I basically I was in the 4 or 5 days prior to my ayahuasca retreat. It's now been 2 or 3 weeks since my ayahuasca retreat, and yeah, I had some time to think about all of it. And I think today's episode is going to be there's so much I could talk about. So I'm going to start with what happened, how it all ran, where did I go, what company was I with, how did it go from day to day, my best recalling of those events, and then maybe in the second half of the video or podcast, actually talking about maybe what I got out of it, or like the meaning behind that experience. So I flew from London to Amsterdam, Amsterdam to Lima, and then Lima to Iquitos, and then met Arcana, the team at Arcana, and the facilitators and everybody else who was part of the retreat, like me. The night before, then we got picked up the following day. We had a hour and a half drive out to the riverside, and then an hour and a half boat ride on the Amazon to the jungle retreat. So we got there in the afternoon. The food was lovely. Still on because there's a ayahuasca diet that you're supposed to follow prior to doing an ayahuasca retreat, partly due to the intentions, the sacrifice of, hey, this is something I want to eat or want to consume. No, like, sacrifice this because, it's almost the preparation and the mentality it takes to sacrifice those sorts of things gets you in the right headspace to focus on what you're then doing it for. What's the purpose of doing that? There are some things where it's like, actually, you probably shouldn't have that in your system during the retreat, but most of it is actually, you like chocolate? Okay, I know you like chocolate, but for the next 2 weeks or something like that, you're just going to give that up, and milk and red meat and this and that, and it's like, okay, when you almost come back to those cravings of, oh, I want this, I want that, I guess I came back to, I'm doing this for the retreat, I'm doing this to prepare properly and almost respect the medicine. And briefly, before I go into the rest of the week, coming to an ayahuasca retreat to Arcana Spiritual Center, I was obviously heard about plant medicine, the ayahuasca spirit, Mother Aya, and wasn't really sure what to think of that. I think I came into it going, I'm not really sure if there's a Mother Aya or whether there's a plant spirit. But for the time that I'm at the retreat, I don't think there's going to be much harm in believing that, or at least taking that on board. And I think I got a lot out of trying to take that on board. So, arrived on Sunday. Half of the people from the retreat had their intentions in the evening, which was, I guess, in the ayahuasca retreat or in the ceremonies, they come back to the 4 pillars. The first pillar is your breath. Focus on your breath. Enjoy your breath. Second pillar is posture, so sitting upright. That might be unassisted or it might be back against the wall, but upright posture is really important. Third pillar is your intentions. So that might be asking Mother Aya for something. For me, it was, Mother Aya, give me strength. That was in the first night, and that was strength to deal with death, past and present, or past and future. But it's something short that you can almost retell yourself during the evening, during the ayahuasca ceremony. You can go, Mother Aya, give me strength, or Mother Aya, give me courage, or those sorts of things. So you've got breath, posture, intention, and the Icaros. The Icaros is what the shamans sing during the night. You start in silence, and then they start to sing the Icaros after maybe 45 minutes or an hour. And again, in terms of those pillars, give you something to focus on during the experience. Something that might be, you might feel uncomfortable, it might be challenging, and coming back to either or all of those pillars is really important. So yeah, during those intention talks, you would talk with Jose, who's the organizer of Arcana, all the shamans, all the facilitators, just so they know, hey, look, this is me. I've been through this childhood trauma. I've been in war. I've been in this. I take this. I take that. I've had addiction problems. All of the things that you could possibly tell and should tell. You need to be open with that. Say, these are the things I'm dealing with, and this is my intention. And then they can almost help you. It helps them decide, okay, what's your first dose going to be? Because obviously dose makes the medicine. You can have a very small amount and not feel very much. You can have a very massive amount and be completely blown away, and that's way too much. So it's important to see, almost get that right. There's also an orientation talk on the first day, which was just about how the ceremonies were ran. Things like the noble silence. Almost during the ceremony, you do not talk to other people. You do not touch other people. If you need help, you ask for help, and you use the little red torch, or you just shout out and say, can someone help me? Because even though you're with other people, it's very much an individual experience. So there was very much a focus on, do not interfere with others. You know, you might be scared and you might want your friend who sat next to you to help you and comfort you, but you can't do that. You need to respect that, and actually if you need help, you ask for help. And that's why the facilitators are there, and they were really, really good. Really, really helpful. And most of them have actually, not all of them have had experience with ayahuasca, but actually a lot of the facilitators who work there and help were once just someone like myself who went and had an ayahuasca retreat and then later came back and said, can I volunteer? So they know what it's like to be in that position, which was also quite comforting, I guess. So the following day, there was no ceremony on that first night. It was just sort of get settled, and there was the first ceremonies the following day. So on Monday, there's a bunch of different, I guess, ceremonial preparations, and well, just preparations that are done prior to the ceremony. So that's obviously the dieto includes that. So before you even arrive, you're doing preparation. Hopefully you're doing some mindfulness and meditation, something to, well, to actually have a bit of awareness of how your mind sort of operates, how thoughts can just arise and you haven't had any idea, well, recognizing that they just arise and not holding on to them straight away as such. But actually having that preparation before is really useful, and then there was preparation while we're actually at the center. So they did a few mindfulness things, a few things on the breath and posture. There are a few, I guess I'd say like Buddhist sort of mantras and philosophies and ideas that were expressed prior to the first ceremony. I know some of the idea, like I like Buddhism. I like the ideas that come with it, and I think they obviously took a little bit of that along with the plant spirit, a lot obviously with the plant spirit, and it's like, okay, I'm not sure if this is real, but let's go along with it anyway. So you have that in the morning. There's a lot of, like, a little bit of meditation, a little bit of a ceremony. They have different they have different, like, sages that they use. They have different plant medicines. So you have ayahuasca. You also have Sapo, which is the 5-MeO DMT from the Sonoran desert toad, the poison from that. They use mapacha, which is a sacred form of tobacco, which is just the tobacco. It's a lot stronger, supposedly. I didn't have any, but they smoke that, and they use that during the ceremonies. Yeah, so a bunch of different things going on. There was also intentions for the rest of the group. A monkey island excursion. So we got to go on a boat and see some monkeys. There was one monkey. It was very rainy, but it was fun, to say the least. Then there was a floral bath, which was just a bucket of nice smelling water, which you just soak all over yourself and let it air dry. Sort of, again, just coming back to the intentions. You know, what is that going to do to me? It's supposedly supposed to protect me. That's why you let it air dry instead of drying it off with a towel. Does it protect me or not? I'm not sure, but actually, if I can try and believe that, almost the placebo nocebo effect, if I can try and believe that, then likelihood is I'm going to have a better time in the ceremony. Before breakfast, I'm going back because I missed something. Before breakfast, it's called a plant emetic. I've just got the board that was on each day. I think it was this one, or it was the Arati. 5 liters of lemon tea, lemongrass tea or something, warm, and you just have to drink the entire thing as quick as possible. And it's done as a form of cleansing, I think. It's not that pleasant. It's nice to taste, like a mouthful, and then you realise how much you have to drink. And you obviously can't drink all of that, like, without getting rid of it again. So you drink as, basically they were like, drink it as fast as you can. If you need to throw up, you throw up. Well, you will need to throw up because it's 5 liters of liquid. So you just get given a little jug and a big jug, and you fill up the little jug and you down that and you fill up, and then eventually you need to throw up, and you just do that until the entire thing's gone. I felt grateful because I'm a bit bigger than most of the people there, so they didn't change the literage, the amount of the volume of tea for the body type. So I probably had it a little bit better off than some of the 5-foot little girls there. Well, ladies. So I do feel bad for them, but I managed to get that down. And again, why was that done? Is that a good thing? I don't know. I think, if anything, hey, look, you're going to purge. You're probably going to purge in some way or another in the ceremony, whether it's throwing up or diarrhea or crying or laughing or a bunch of other things, yawning. But throwing up, it's quite common. And actually, if anything, I saw this was, hey, look, you're going to have to get comfortable with this. So here's a bit of practice. Just get this down you, because you have to get through this. You have to get through the entire night of the ceremony. So here it is. So that was something that was also done in preparation prior to the first ceremony. Then in the evening, so all of the ceremonies took place late in the evening, so it started around 8 or 8:30 in the evening, and lasted until maybe 3 in the morning, sometimes 4 in the morning. So very long, quite tiring, just being up that long, let alone the experience along with it. So it was definitely a tiring week, and I'm glad for it to be done. But yeah, so we had almost a Aya talk before the ceremony, just again going through the noble silence, the 4 pillars, and how the ceremony will run. So the ceremony ran. We have the Maloka, which is this big circular room. It's really beautiful. It's a big circular room with a coned roof, and there's beds that go around all in a big circle. There's a bird's eye view. All in a big circle. You get your mattress, you get maybe 3 or 4 pillows, a bucket, very necessary, a red light. I think you can also ask for some mapacha, so that's obviously those are the cigarettes, and obviously a lighter with that. There's a fan as well, like a little hand fan. I think that's about it. I brought my water bottle. You're not supposed to drink, so this is another one of the things of the preparation. You're not supposed to eat after a certain time. I think that was maybe like 3 p.m. and then you're not supposed to drink after 5 p.m. So actually, if you have more water in your system, I think it enhances the effects of the ayahuasca, which some people might go, oh yeah, let's try it. But actually, you need to respect it. So do what they say. But I had it for almost later in the ceremony when I am feeling, I can have some water now, I feel better. And a little bit of toothpaste because the ayahuasca tastes very bad. So as soon as you've sat down, everybody sits down. There's also a chance to, again, another form of. Right, sorry, I'm rambling. You sit down. Everybody's in a circle. Everybody's got their certain seat. And there's the outer circle where everybody sits, and there's an inner circle where all the shamans sit. The shamans have all the ayahuasca in the middle, and once everybody has sat down, a little bit beforehand, you do have a chance to use agua de florita, which is it's a little bottle of nice smelling liquid. I think it's something that they use throughout Peru. I used it on the Inca Trail because the tour guide person was just like, all right, have a little bit of this. It smells really good, but actually, again, it was like it's a strong smell, and if you can associate that with almost protection, or if something's going wrong, maybe a shaman or a facilitator might come along and maybe spray a little bit of that on you, and that's gonna, in an intense experience where you're thinking about other things, that intense smell or rush of air or that feeling, it can definitely bring something out of you, which is really, really nice. So you can use that before, or that might actually be used on you during the ceremony if needed. So you sit down. It's the noble silence. You don't talk to everyone. Maybe you might have a last hug or good luck to some of your friends in there, and all the lights go off apart from a few candles. So it's like 5 candles around the circle, and then each facilitator, or there's one facilitator that sits with 2 shamans, and the 2 shamans are giving out the ayahuasca dose. So they call people up one by one. You sit down, they say, okay, you're having this much, is that right? Because they don't want to get it wrong. And you say yes, and you drink the ayahuasca. You say, obviously, gracias, and you go sit back down. once everyone's had their drink, all the lights go off, so all the candles will be blown out, and we just sit in silence. And we sit in silence for... The first night I had no idea how long things were going to last. I guess I was a bit naive to how long the ceremony was going to be, and it was the longest I'd ever sat and been with my own thoughts, meditative sort of state for that long. So it was a little bit of a challenge in that regards. But yeah, so about 45 minutes to an hour, then the shamans start to sing. Now, likelihood is, before the shamans start to sing, someone will throw up. Or someone will start to purge. And that's one of the things that was spoken about in the Aya talk. Now, the medicine will give you what you can handle. And also, you're going to want to purge. And that can come through a variety of forms. So you might throw up. You might need to go to the toilet. You might laugh. You might cry. You might... There's all sorts. You might yawn. There's all sorts of different ways of purging, and that should be almost. You should let that happen. Often there was a lot of discomfort. Almost, I want to throw up, but I can't throw up yet. I could make myself throw up, but you're not necessarily allowed to. That's almost. You need to let the medicine do its work. So you have to sit with that nausea for a while until actually then. That's the point. You get the bucket and you throw up. But yeah, so you sit in silence for a bit, then the shamans start to sing. That's very intense. I don't know how long that lasts for, maybe an hour or hour and a half or so. Then it goes back down to silence again. And then they call you for the second dose, and the facilitator calls out and says, how's everyone feeling? We're now going to take the second dose. So if you want to, you can stand up and go and have another second dose. They'll ask you how you're feeling, how much you want. Obviously, you get a bit of, you can decide sort of. Obviously, if you say you want a ridiculous amount, they're probably not going to give it to you because they know that's not feasible. But yeah, so you go up for your second dose. I went up for my second dose. I didn't feel too much on the first time. And yeah, then again, you sit in silence for a little bit afterwards, and then the shamans start to sing once more. Once the shamans are done singing, they then go on to the personal Icaros. So each person will be called out. So we had 5 shamans. There's a lot of people. And each person, so you'll sit in front of a shaman and they will sing their Icaros directly to you, which is quite intense once again. Even though there's other Icaros going on in the background, having a shaman right in front of you in the dark, every now and then being lit up by a lighter, or the Mapacha cigarette actually lighting up their face, it's quite trippy, but yeah, it was fascinating, and again, very intense. After the personal Icaros, everyone's had their Icaros done. We sit back in silence. Some of the facilitators would then start to play some music. So there was like a harp and a harmonica, different types of instruments, which were really, really nice. And then again, silence for a while, until everything had sort of settled. And then eventually they would ask, how's everyone feeling? Are you feeling the effects of the medicine anymore? And generally, then it would be, okay, no, they're not. And the lights would come back on. That would be then the ceremony's over. You can then share and touch and be with other people. And then you can share fresh fruit as well. So there were oranges and apples and bananas and stuff like that. So... And that's a very long experience. So you start at about 8:30, and then you finish. We finished every night around about 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. To then wake up about 2.5 hours later. So that's how the ceremony was ran at Arcana. I can't say what it would be like for other places, but that was yeah, that was the first night. Um, the second day, very similar. Again, you only allow breakfast and lunch on the ceremony days because of the cut-off time for food. So those meals are very important. Um, Again, they don't redo the intentions, but actually you will set yourself. Generally, you set yourself different intentions each night, based on that previous night. But the following morning, you have breakfast, a chance to talk with other people, but then there's a dedicated time where you actually share your experience with others. So the following day, we had breakfast and then group share. And again, you sat in the Maloka during the daylight so you can see everybody, and we go one by one and you just say, "Hi, my name is Joel, and last night was interesting." And you can explain as much or as little as you want, but actually it's part of the process of healing, of integrating your experience to talk to others about it. So that was really, really quite special. And I found the group share to be almost sometimes more significant, maybe more significant for me than others perhaps, but it was just amazing to listen to everybody's almost story of, hey, this is me. Last year, I broke up with my husband died, or my partner was murdered, or a childhood trauma, or a variety of awful things. And they open up about it and they talk about their experience and how things that they thought about, and it's just fascinating to learn and to take in opinions of others and what the experience meant to them and what they were thinking about during that thing, because it's an individual experience, but it's also shared with a bunch of people, and again, that sharing is the openness that people were able to share about those intimate experiences and intimate feelings brought about it completely broke the ice and went straight through. And actually, I felt very, very close to all of these people that I met at the center, simply because of this openness and honesty about how you feel, and the intensity of that experience. So that was fascinating. It was really nice to almost listen to everybody else saying their things, other people building upon other people's shares. So, this person would say something about their experience, and actually you could maybe say something that might help, or something that might relate, or anything. Actually, it's really nice to see that almost all the individuals working together to almost help each other process their own things. Okay, so group share was after breakfast. Then they did yoga, which was kind of cool. Again, actually, a lot of what I found about the ayahuasca ceremonies was sitting with discomfort, and yoga is, I don't know, that's exactly what it is. It's sitting with discomfort. Here's a position that is uncomfortable to hold it. I can't do it anymore. Yeah, you can. You don't, you stop when you choose to stop, generally speaking. Obviously, you can get to the point where you literally collapse, but not many people get to that point. And actually just going, I can't do it anymore. Yes, you can. You're still doing it. You're still doing it now. You said you couldn't do it 30 seconds ago, but you're still in this position. It's a demonstration of, oh, wow, I can do a lot more than I think I can. I can sit with this discomfort a lot longer than I think I can, or maybe I want to. And the ayahuasca ceremonies often, you drink the medicine and you wait. And actually, it might be a very uncomfortable 3 or 4 hours before you then start to feel better again. But that's it. Actually, you're practicing sitting with that discomfort. In the afternoon, after lunch, we walked to the local village. The village there is quite interesting, because actually it's quite a small village, but the center was built right next to it. So Jose often gives the families in the village almost rotate and work in the center as, cleaners and things like that. So they have an extra source of income, which is quite nice. Again, there was a floral bath before the ceremony. No lemongrass tea this time. That's only done once. There's almost dedicated quiet time before the ceremony. Almost, that's almost when you're supposed to start the noble silence and just take a bit of time to focus on yourself and what your intentions are the previous night, things like that. There was also breath work. I didn't do that. I think I was probably knackered, or I was doing something else. But it's nice that some things are optional and some things you should be there for, and some things are also optional. So that was another thing that you could have done, but I didn't. Then you have the second ceremony, and I forgot to mention, during the group share, they often, after you've shared, they say, you had this amount last night. So for me, it was like, you had 40 and then you had 35. So 40 milliliters on my first dose, 35 on my second dose. So 75 overall. What would you like to do tonight? And I think I went up to 80 for my first dose on my second night, and then 20 for my second dose. So 100 in total. And I think I'm probably just going to do it all in one. So in terms of how the week was structured and also how I felt. So after that first ayahuasca ceremony, the idea of it was to be strong enough to deal with death, because it's an important thing. It's an intense thing, and I practice negative visualization, where, hey, look, I have a wonderful partner, a wonderful family, and what if they died tomorrow? Or oh, I love running. What if you got in a car crash and you were disabled? It's like, okay, like, it's very, people might say, oh, stop being so pessimistic. But it's like, actually, that thought of it could be a lot worse, feeling how you would feel if it was that bad, and then coming back to reality and going, I might not be where I want to be, but I'm definitely not in the worst possible position, and I'm grateful for that. So actually, thinking about death was my way of practicing gratitude for the people and the things that I have in my life, and knowing that my family and my partner and my friends are going to die. It's saddening. It's intense, and I guess I wanted to be ready for that. Or as ready as I could be. And I think after going through that ceremony, it wasn't too intense in terms of the ayahuasca, and the intention was very much an intentional intention. I had to think about certain people that I might lose. And again, I felt sadness that I'm going to lose them, gratitude and joy that I have them here, and that I'm so grateful to actually have that relationship when other people do not. Feelings of disgust. It's like, why does it have to be this way? Like, why do my brothers have to die? Was a vivid sort of, I'm not really sure, I don't really like that. And again, it's like sitting with that discomfort. And also just, yeah, I mean, it was just sort of going over family members, going back and forth between sadness that I'll lose them, and gratefulness that I have them, and just going over different, maybe it's like certain experiences I had. I was thinking back to when I left to go to Peru and I was saying goodbye to my mum and my dad. I could picture that scene of saying goodbye to them, so clearly. And I sort of, well, I was just running through that and being very grateful for what I have. And in the group share, and after talking to a bunch of people, it was basically like, you're not, we're never strong enough to deal with death. You know, it just happens. And actually you do your best you can when it happens. So that was something that was quite nice. And I think one of the facilitators, Billy, he said in the group share, you know, thinking about death, you know, we never truly die. You know, if I took this piece of paper here and I burnt it, the piece of paper doesn't disappear. It turns into flame and ash and then just kind of goes into the rest of everything that is here. It just changes form, which I thought was really nice. And actually, you know, in the past I had thought about, you know, there's a heaven and people, when they die, they go to heaven. But actually, when people die, at least when you're no longer alive in this human body, you become something else. You change form, and that's okay. So a bit of acceptance for that actually was something that I took on board, especially in the later half of the week, on the Thursday. So the Tuesday, after going through the first night with having Mother Aya give me strength, I came into this retreat with a lot less baggage than a lot of the other people that I was with, and I knew that. And when I say baggage, I mean, you know, I don't have childhood trauma. I don't have addiction problems. I don't have a lot of issues. And that was one of the worries, I guess, going into the retreat. Like, why am I here? Do I need to be here? And knowing that I didn't necessarily have anything that I needed to deal with, I wanted to give myself something to deal with. And I know the phrase seek discomfort comes to mind, where actually here's an uncomfortable situation and you can grow from it. So putting myself into an uncomfortable situation and going, I will be stronger coming out of this. Reminding myself of the pillars that I have, going back to the previous episode, reminding myself of the anchors that I have, those that love me in my life, and that I love, my family and my friends. That's holding on to that kept me almost vigilant and allowed me to get through that experience. So I knew I was going to have a lot more, 100 in total, 80 to start off with. I knew it was going to be uncomfortable, but again, the intention was, Mother Aya, give me courage. And I found it very appropriate to do that. Courage was something that everyone around me was displaying. Being able to express in a group share, this is what I've been through, this is what I'm thinking, this is what I'm struggling with. And then to go in again the following night knowing how difficult it was the first night, that's courageous, and to speak about that is courageous. And I thought, you know, I can do this. I can definitely do this. If they can deal with that, I can deal with what comes to me. And it was a lot more intense. There wasn't necessarily anything intentionally that I was thinking about. It was just give me courage because I am scared. And generally the second night is more intense for everyone. You know, the first night you kind of test where you are, test your grounds, and then the second night everyone goes up a little bit, and the demons come out. Yeah. To say the least. There's a lot of people, a lot more purging. One of the people I met next to me, on the mat next to me, was having a very rough time. And actually we were roommates together, and he spoke to me and he said, you know, I needed to ask for help last night and I didn't. So that's my intention tonight. If I need to ask for help, I will. And I was sat almost listening to him go through his whatever purging and fear, and I could almost feel that, and all I want to do is go to him and like, it's okay, but again, that noble silence, like, just ask for help, like, Mother Aya, I'm courageous, but give him courage, and then he shouts out, can I have some help, please? And I was really proud of that. So actually, it's almost, the courage displayed by others gave me more courage to deal with the things that came up, I guess, and the discomfort, because there was a lot of discomfort. I threw up quite a lot that night. But again, at the calm after the storm, once it's all done, I'm so grateful to have been through that experience, to have been around others who have been through that experience. Again, to then share with others and go, wow, it's done. I'm so glad you're here. How was your night? How are you feeling? It's like, oh, wow. It's really difficult to describe sometimes, but it's also sometimes you're just so excited to be able to see someone else's face again, and to be able to hug them, and So we got the 2 nights, Monday and Tuesday, so ayahuasca ceremonies. And again, actually, at the end of it, I'd got through it. That was the intention. The intention was, Mother Aya, give me courage to get through this experience, and I did. And I didn't necessarily want to go for a second dose, but I had told myself, actually, this is, I'm here to not necessarily challenge myself, but that was the intention of the night. I want to be courageous through this ceremony, and I'm scared to have a second dose, but I'll ask Mother Aya for the courage to do so. So I did that, and I was very grateful when I was done. Wednesday's a day off, thankfully. There was a bunch of different things on this day. Obviously, you get the group share after breakfast, which was really nice. Again, that's far more intense, and actually, I think I expressed far more emotions listening to other people's stories as opposed to going through my own process, which was really, really nice. It was really nice to actually just feel maybe the sadness for other people, or the joy, or like, wow, you told me this on the first day, and now I see how much you've changed, or how your perspectives have shifted, or maybe something I told them they directly said, this really helped me. I was thinking of this during my ceremony last night, and I'm really grateful for that. So that was really nice, just almost again share with others. There was yoga again. I think I was too sore and too tired for that. There was a sloth sighting excursion into the jungle and a caiman expedition in the evening. I had lunch and dinner and then just slept all the way through. I slept a lot. I just needed to sleep, because Monday, Tuesday you get about 6 hours total, which is far less than I would normally have. So I had to catch up, knowing that my last ceremony would be on the Thursday. I didn't want to be, a lot of things I wanted to do. I wanted to do those things, but I didn't want to be like, the ayahuasca was the main reason I was there. So I didn't want to inhibit that by being too tired. So then the Thursday was my final day. In the Arcana retreat, you can do like a 1, 2, or a 3-week retreat. I chose the 1-week retreat, and I actually had to leave a day early. So they normally do a ceremony on Monday and Tuesday, and a ceremony on Thursday and Friday. But I didn't. I had to leave on the Friday before the final ceremony. So Thursday was my final ceremony, which was a bit different. And I'm a bit sad that I didn't plan it properly, and I couldn't have had that full week experience, finished when everybody else did. When most people did, but it's fine. That's just the way it was, and I sort of took that and went, okay, this is the reality I'm dealing with. Let's just do the best I've got. Thursday was also Sapo day. So Sapo is the other plant medicine, or it's not a plant medicine. I guess it's an animal medicine. It's the poison from the Sonoran desert toad. They take the poison, they dry it on a sheet of glass, they then make it into a powder, they put it in a little test tube. So you have your breakfast, and actually the Sapo is then in the morning, during the day, and it's a much shorter experience. So both ayahuasca and Sapo are DMT based psychedelics. However, one you are almost digesting, and one you are inhaling. So it's very different. The ayahuasca ceremonies last for a lot longer, and the DMT, the smoked the vapor of the Sapo is far more intense, far more fast acting, like within 10 seconds. As opposed to sitting and waiting for 45 minutes, an hour. And it's also shorter lasting. So some people had experiences that were 20 minutes, some people had them for just over an hour. So it's a lot shorter, but doesn't diminish the experience in any way, shape or form. It was actually my favourite experience of the week. So that's in a slightly smaller circle room. I think it was called the Maloka. Again, very pretty. There was an outer circle where everybody could sit, and then there was 4 beds in the middle where that was where people would have their experience. So actually, again, the noble silence, do not talk, even if you're not the one going through the experience. And each person would get called up one at a time. 2 people would generally go at a time, and then once they'd relaxed, the other 2 people would go, and it would just sort of cycle back and forth. It was incredible. There were no real intentions going into this, because Sapo was one of the things I'd heard about, 5-MeO-DMT, about being almost the Christmas star on the top of the star on top of the Christmas tree. In terms of psychedelics, it's almost the best one. And I was nervous going into it. It was amazing to watch people before. I must have watched about 10 or 12 people go before me, which was nice. And I was, crying watching them go through their experience, and laugh, and also sadness. And it was fascinating. I sat down on the mat, and there's nice music playing, and there's Jose. He's very personal with this medicine. It's his favorite medicine, so he delivers the medicine to you. It comes in a little, not anything like this, but maybe cut that in half, and they put it in the bottle. They get a blowtorch and they vaporize that. A little straw on the top. It's all vaporized, and they go, okay. And you hold your nose, you breathe out, and then you breathe all of it in at once. If you can, maybe you need to take a little bit of a breath. So you breathe a little bit in, then a little bit of air, and then the rest of it, and then a bit of air, then the rest of it. And you hold that in for as long as you can. And eventually you will let go. And it was really nice, because I was nervous going in, and it was quite funny. Jose, I don't know, he got some, I think he'd probably had a bit too much of the Sapo. After each person's had done their vapor, he would have the final little bit left. And I think it probably built up a bit. And he also had some tiger balm oil, which went in his eyes, and it was a whole mess, and it was quite funny. And I was, it was like a 15-minute delay, but it was really funny. And I spoke to him, and I was like, well, you've definitely got the nerves out for me. And he said, being nervous is a sign of respect for the medicine. And I think that that applies to all things. Being nervous is a sign of respect to whatever you're doing. Are you going on a date? It's a sign of respect for the importance of the date. Or the interview. It's like, it's actually, that's normal. And it makes us, I think he reminded us that that's what it means to be human. And you're going to have a great time. I think he knew that, son. I think I didn't want to have any expectations going in, but I wasn't very fearful. After that, I was like, okay, here we go. Let's do this. Yep. So had the vapor in 3 hits, and you just hold it in, and I'm going to do my best to like recall it, but you sat upright and everything just started sort of wobbling, shaking. And then I don't know what happened in that first part, but I eventually just went, and I leaned back, and they set you back, and you put your arms out. They put your arms out to the side, and they uncross your legs, and they lay you back. Apparently, I just did nothing for 2 minutes or so, 2 or 3 minutes, and it's very much the idea of letting go. Let the medicine do the work. You can't hold on. If you hold on, actually, you're going to have more likely to have a really bad experience. So, just letting go and letting things happen. After that, so the idea of an ego death, actually, everything just disappearing. I'd like to assume that maybe during that 2 minutes of silence, I don't know, I died or something. I'm not too sure, but I definitely let go and everything sort of disappeared. So I guess that would be what you would call an ego death. Coming back, I laughed like I'd never laughed in my life before. It was hilarious. I laughed so much I couldn't stop. Or I'd stop and then I'd look at something or I'd think of something and then I'd just go back into laughing and crying with laughter. And everybody else is going through that experience around you, but you just there was nothing in particular that was funny. It was just laughter. And it was amazing. It was just pure joy. I looked around the room. I was lying back, so I could look around me and see everybody's. I wanted to look at everybody's individual faces and see everyone smiling. I was smiling, so hopefully they were smiling back. And most people were, and it was just like I was laughing while looking at them. I think I looked at one of the facilitators, and she was like, almost the look of like, yeah, right, like you understand now. And yeah, the laughter turned into crying and sadness. Again, it was going back to that first night of like, look at all these people around me and all the people I have at home. I will lose them, and that's sad, and I'm going to lose everything. And then going back to laughter and crying a little bit. But actually, I think that experience it allowed me to accept those feelings. You're like, they're going to die and that's okay. I opened my eyes and was looking at the top of the Maloka. So it's like you're looking down into an ice cream cone, like the ice cream cone's on the top. So I was looking up to the top of the cone, or I guess the bottom of the cone. For those of you listening on audio, just it's a hut, okay? There's a point on the top, and it goes down. And I was looking at the top, and there were a few butterflies at the top of the Maloka, and it was almost the simplicity of life and death expressed in a butterfly. They are born, they fly around, and they die, and something else is in its place. Maybe there's another butterfly. The simplicity of life and death it was easy to see in a butterfly, because I don't have any connection to a butterfly apart from, oh, that looks nice. And it was nice to take that simplicity and almost apply it to the complexity of humans, where there's that human connection, where you know people, you can actually communicate with them. So almost having the complexity of human connection and the simplicity of life and death expressed by a butterfly or butterflies was really nice to almost just put them together and just be with that. So I went from that and then kind of went through my physical body, just touched my head, touched my face, touched my ears, my neck, my arms, my hands, my shoulders, my chest, my torso, my legs, my knees, my feet, my toes, everything. And just feel what it's like to sort of be there. Yeah, again, a bit more laughter after that, just like looking at people and just being very grateful. Maybe looking at other people also going through that experience and just almost being so happy for them as well. Happy to be around, filled in a room full of love and kindness. People who want the best for you. Yeah, I mean, eventually I sat up and I think I had a hug with the facilitator. So you have a facilitator who sat by your bed during this experience. So actually, if you need anything, you want to talk to them or you want a hug or whatever, you need a hand for assistance. So this whole time, they're fanning you or they might be, whatever it is. A little bit of a hug just to finish. And then I think a little bit of mango and a glass of water. And actually before that had happened, after feeling my body, after laughing so much, I was just, okay, let's just stop. And I stopped breathing. I just put my hands on my chest and I felt my heartbeat. It was the life force within. That was again just like another sense of gratitude, like I'm here. This is what's keeping me going. And just being with that. So yeah, it was a wonderful experience. I would definitely do it again. Ayahuasca, I don't think I need to, until I need to deal with something or until I want to heal. 5-MeO-DMT, on the other hand, the Sapo, I would love to do that again. It was such a beautiful experience, and yeah, I'm really grateful to have been able to experience that with all the other people in the room and during the day and for a short amount of time. And I can't remember what else happened in that day, but then later in the evening there was a final ceremony, and I think I took it a little bit easier that night. Just had one dose, didn't go up for a second. Again, I think it was still having courage to deal with the experience, because I knew it was still going to be challenging. I sat with the discomfort, I sat with the nausea, I sat with the sadness, and eventually just came out the other side feeling better, feeling gratitude that I'm not feeling like that anymore, and just that that's it, I'm done, that's the end of my ayahuasca retreat, and I'm going to miss all these people in this room, and there's that gratitude. So that finished. I had the group share the following morning, and then left on a boat after lunch. And for anyone thinking of doing an ayahuasca retreat or something similar, in Peru they also have San Pedro ceremonies. I know in Mexico you can do mushroom ceremonies. I'm sure you can do that in Peru as well. But actually, just this healing environment. If you are thinking about it, if you want to ask any questions, let me know. I'll be happy to try and answer them. But going into the week, I thought, I wonder what this psychedelic experience will be like. And coming out of it, I saw what a massive potential it has to heal people if they want to heal, which was really, really special. I just wanted to add to that long segment on my ayahuasca retreat. Yeah, just reiterating the point that I came out of that retreat with a lot of hope for those that want to get better. You know, I don't know too many people in my life that well to say you should go and have an ayahuasca retreat. Everyone deals with their own things, and they need to deal with it in the way they want to deal with it. But actually, if someone I knew said to me, I'm really struggling, there's this, there's all sorts of things that are going on and I don't know what to do. I've tried this, I've tried that. And they wanted to get better. They were telling me they wanted to get better. I would definitely recommend it, because it's not a normal practice. It's not like go to the doctors and here's your medicine, or go and see a psychologist and here's your therapy. It's very different. But actually the shamans have worked with the medicine for many, many years. I think one of the shamans there had been working with it since she was 22, like me. Not that I've been working with it, but she first tried ayahuasca when she was 22. And she's been working with it for, 45 years or something. So a lot of experience, a lot of different people, and a lot of the environment that was created there. So, whether I'm not going to attribute all of the healing that I saw in others to ayahuasca. I'm not going to attribute it to Sapo either. But actually the combination of the ayahuasca, the shamans, the facilitators, the environment that has been built, all of it, it's incredible. It's all been worked out to, people talk about set and setting. I think I might have mentioned that in the preparation for psychedelics video. Actually, my set and setting for all previous psychedelic use has been on my own or with one friend at home, in an environment which is generally quite safe, as opposed to on the other side of the world with a bunch of strangers, multiple times in the week. It sort of completely threw, like, I thought it was sort of completely throwing away set and setting. But as soon as you get there, the community feel that is there with the facilitators and also the other people that are around you, the openness that generally comes with the experience, people wanting to grow, that was just that set the setting. That was, here's the set and you're in the beautiful jungle, here to do a traditional medicine with, it's in a traditional context. Actually, that is I want to respect this setting, and with all these amazing people who want to heal, and who are almost trying to love openly and help. Everybody wants to see each other get better throughout the week, and help each other to figure things out, and actually the number of transformations, the number of different people that I met who had spoken about things, who then later in the week had just completely changed what they had, their orientation, their perspective on a certain thing. A lot of acting, like realizing that they've been acting a certain way when it's like, why on earth do I need to act this way? And a lot of self-love, or loving kindness to others, even though they don't necessarily, loving kindness to those that have abused them. Like, it's, again, the courage displayed by others to deal with those events was fascinating to watch. And I think sharing that in a group environment, you're dealing with one thing and you see everybody else dealing with their own things. That's inspirational, and allowed me to. I really appreciate just the exposure to that, to actually learn from that and see what other people go through and how they deal with it and what they think about different things. And also, actually, my, I guess, realization that I'm not going to be strong enough to deal with death, and that's okay. And one of the key takeaways, I guess something that I already knew, but that was re-emphasized for me was, my fear of death, or I think a lot of people's fear of death stems from the fact that when we die, we might have regrets. I wish I'd told this person this, or I wish I'd done that, or I wish I hadn't done that. I haven't got enough time. It's like, we need to act in a way that is, we need to act as authentically as possible. Act in a way that is true to how you feel. Don't act for other people. I've spoken about social feedback is important, but probably nowhere near as important as you think it is. And the fear of dying for me was, I have all these amazing people in my life, and I would be very upset and, regretful to die, or for them to die, without them knowing how much I love them, or how special they are to me, or how well I live. I would be sad. You can question whether you're going to be sad when once you're dead, or what you're going to experience once you're dead. Once you're dead, you're dead. You might not experience anything. But just the idea that actually, if I die, I want everyone that I care for and that I love to know how well I lived, to know that I lived a good life, and that I wasn't sad, I wasn't regretful, I lived as well as I could, and they helped make that possible, and I wouldn't have wanted it any other way. I just almost that gratitude again. Hey, look, you're really important to me, and don't forget it. Because if something happens to me, I want you to know that you were really important, and not have any doubt about that. And I knew that, but actually just coming here, it's like, coming to the retreat and going through that and seeing other people, it's just like, it just reiterates the fact that I need to keep telling people that I love them, regardless of the embarrassment that you might feel for telling certain people you love in front of other people. It's almost the cliche thing of you're on the phone to your girlfriend or whatever it is, and then it's the end of the conversation, you're with your mates, and it's like, what are you going to say? Oh, I love you too. It's like, maybe that's not a thing for everybody, but that I've seen that in myself and in other people before, or whether it's even to your parents or something, or to other people that you love, and just the fear to express that. It's like, there's valid reason to be fearful. You might be you might be embarrassed in front of your friends to say that. They might make fun of you for saying that. They might take the piss, but it's not to say that they won't do that. Don't be so silly, just say it anyway. It's like, they might do that and you might have to deal with that, but actually it's way more important to express how you feel to the people that you love at the expense of people taking the piss out of you. Because, well, nothing's guaranteed. This might be the last video I ever do. I hope it's not, but actually, if it is, then I do want people to know how much I care for them and how grateful I am to have them in my life and things like that. So if there is anybody that you love, that you couldn't imagine your life without, or wouldn't want your life to, you wouldn't want your life without them, regardless of whether it's going to happen or not, because it will eventually happen, let them know. Even if you let them know like yesterday, or if you haven't let them know in a very, very long time, just let them know, because it is really important. And often it is just having that act of courage to step forward and go, courage is acting in fear. That's it. It's not like, some people want courage to do X, Y, and Z. It's like, well, it's not like when you have courage, you're not fearful. You are fearful still. You just act despite the fear. So if there are fears that you have about doing certain things, knowing that courage is acting regardless of that fear, I think makes it a little bit easier to act, knowing that you're not going to have to wait for a fear to disappear. Like, all you got to do is act. Easier said than done, but there isn't, like, you don't have to wait for the fear to disappear for you to be able to have the courage. Yeah, hopefully that was a interesting episode. Hopefully some insights into what an ayahuasca experience looks like, or an ayahuasca retreat at Arcana looks like, and some insights to what I felt while I was there, how I feel now, things like that. So if you have any questions, let me know, and I will see you in the next video.